What's going on YouTube? So over the last couple of years, Hyundai did not have as many crossovers in their lineup as the competition had, but they are very quickly changing that. This Palisade is one of 5 new crossovers in the last 2 years, and it will serve as the flagship for the brand in both size and luxury. Of course, we do want to take a moment to specially thank our friends at Gates Hyundai in Richmond, Kentucky for inviting us out to check out this Palisade. And if you're in the market for any new Hyundai, be sure to stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with its sibling, the Kia Telluride, getting rave reviews, let's go ahead and see if the Palisade is just as good, if not better. So starting things off with the exterior styling, it's safe to say you won't see much of a familiar resemblance to other Hyundais or the Telluride. Like the Kia, it is a really bold look, but in a totally different flavor, like with the grille for instance. Instead of being a narrow rectangle, it has a tall and thick shape, which does come in a different finish for each trim. SE and SEL get this sport mesh design in either silver or this satin chrome, and then the Limited has a tougher looking slatted grille instead. But the really unique part of the Palisade's design is the headlight cluster. Hyundai has actually separated the various parts of the light so that the turn signal is at the top, the low and high beams are stacked below it, and then you have a daytime running light that runs between them, kind of like recent Cadillacs. The lighting technology itself is standard halogens on SE and SEL, but the Limited as well as this SEL with convenience package have full LED lights instead. Heading around to the side, the Palisade has a boxier and more traditional SUV look than many of its rivals, which also makes it look larger even though it's really middle of the pack in terms of size. Now in regards to the rear, this is really the only aspect of design that's remotely similar to the Telluride. While the details are different, they both have vertical LED taillights, their names spelled out across the back, and dual exhaust outlets mounted side by side. So overall, Hyundai has done a fantastic job of making the Palisade look luxurious and totally distinct from the competitors, which often have a tendency to be very vanilla. Now one design aspect I haven't mentioned are the wheels. There are 4 different choices, these specific ones being my personal favorite, the 20-inch contrast alloys in the SEL convenience package. Normally the SE and SEL would come with different 18-inch alloys, while the Limited comes standard with a multi-spoke 20-incher. Next up we have the mirrors, which are always power adjusting and heated, with the really neat turn signals coming on the SEL and up. And you'll also find blind spot monitoring on all but the base model. But as far as all the other advanced safety systems, Hyundai has actually made them standard across even the base Palisade. You have automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, and auto high beam headlights, which makes it one of the few in the segment to offer so many safety systems as standard. I also want to mention the towing, which is a class competitive 5,000 pounds. However, the Palisade does have one uncommon feature, which is auto leveling ability on the Limited. Finally, the last things to look at are the fuel ranges from the 18.8 gallon tank. It's good for a range of 414 miles with front wheel drive and 395 with all wheel drive, using regular unleaded fuel. But anyways, that covers the standout exterior. So now let's see if the interior makes just as big an impression. So first, walking up to the Hyundai Palisade, you're going to find their smart entry system on the SEL and up, as well as a remote start system. fob itself is very nice in typical Hyundai fashion. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, there is not a sensor behind the handle, so you just press the little silver button. Alright, so first taking a look inside the all-new 2020 Hyundai Palisade. As you can tell right off the bat, this really has a totally distinct design language from the rest of the Hyundai lineup. So as far as your interior color and material options, there are a bunch of them. So what you're going to start out with on your SE and your SEL is going to be basic cloth seating in black or gray. However, when you go up to the premium package, that's going to get you real leather, like we have here, in black, gray, or a light beige. Now, when you go for the limited trim, that's going to further upgrade you to Napa leather, and that, of course, is a really rare feature to find in a mainstream crossover. Now, turning over here to your door trim, it is very nicely finished. As you can see, you do have leather across the entire armrest as well as above it. The top part is soft touch, and then you have a kind of textured faux aluminum through the middle part. You will find two-person memory seating when you go for the SEL Premium package or above. And then as far as your windows, the front two are one-touch auto down and up. Now heading down here to the seats, you're going to be looking at manual seats on the base SE only. When you go up to the SEL, you're going to get 8-way power seats with 2-way lumbar, and if you go for the limited, you'll have 2 more ways of lumbar adjustment. And like I was saying, this is real leather, so it's not quite as supple as the Napa leather, but you will still find that it feels very nice. It has a very attractive stitching design, and you even have a similar quilted pattern up here at the top to that fully loaded model. So like I was saying, right off the bat, it's really obvious that this interior looks nothing like any of the current Hyundai lineup. And the materials are a step above as well. So you're looking at soft touch plastic across the entire upper part of the dash. And then when you drop down here to the middle, you have a nice leatherette material that runs all through here, as well as some more of this faux aluminum. You've got some more faux aluminum that passes through the middle and along through here. It's got a really nice texture, and it looks really pleasing. And then additionally, you've got a leatherette that goes through here, so you have a nice, comfortable place to rest your knee on. And everything in here fits together really, really solidly. So it definitely has some of the best materials in the class. Now, as far as the push button start, that does come standard on the SEL and up. And when you press it, you'll find this standard 8-inch display fire up on most of the trims. However, on the limited, you will have a standard 10.25-inch display, which will basically just expand outward a little bit and take up most of the space and take out the bezels. Now over here in the gauges, the Palisade is pretty interesting in the fact that you've actually got 3 different setups. So we've got the middle option. You're going to start out with the base on the base SE and the SEL with a small 4.2-inch display. However, when you go for the convenience package, that's going to upgrade this to a 7-inch display, which is what you're looking at here. And then when you go for the limited, all this is going to be changed out for a giant 12.3-inch reconfigurable display. Looks really cool. But as far as this middle display, it does contain all the traditional information that you want to see, including things regarding your standard safety systems. Now coming back to the steering wheel, you're going to find electric power assisted steering, and you will find this nice leather wrapping on all but the very base model. Like I was saying, you do have your traditional Hyundai controls here, so we've got our audio, phone, and voice commands. Then on this side we have our controls for our adaptive cruise control and our multi-function display. Up top you will find rain sensing wipers, standard on the limited. And surprisingly, you will find paddle shifters standard across the entire range. And then as far as the wheel itself, it is manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is standard on the Limited, or it is optional via the SEL premium package, which we do have. Off to the side here, you'll find a few more buttons, including for your standard electronic parking brake. Now, as far as interior storage is concerned, I always rant and rave about how good Hondas usually are, but honestly here, the Palisade has given the Pilot a run for its money. It has an absolute ton of space, so we can start out here with our center console. So you have a little removable tray, and when you look inside here, you can tell it is extremely deep. You have a little pad down here at the bottom, as well as one of your charging USB ports and 12-volt outlets. Up in front of that, we have another storage area, so you just push that and it will automatically slide back. As you can see, this is a huge bin, and inside we have a wireless phone charger as an option on this SEL, standard on the Limited. Right there, we have plenty of space. And then we have two cup holders, so you can just set a bottle in here like that. And then they've made it that really cool setup there, so basically you can store things in here without the cup holders infringing on it, or if you need the cup holders, they can pop out. And then you have even more storage. Down here you have an entire pass-through here. This is good for storing large items like a purse, diaper bag, different things that families might need. And you will find another one of your charging USB ports and 12-volt outlets down there. Now, the reason why Hyundai has been able to include so much storage in this Palisade is because they've gone with a really compact electronic shifter. So this is a push-button shifter. It's the first Hyundai I've been in that has this set up, but it is very easy to get used to. So all you gotta do for drive is just press the little D. And like I already mentioned, you do have standard paddle shifters across the entire lineup, which is a nice touch. For reverse, you're just gonna press the R. Now, since we have the SEL, we do have just the standard backup camera. However, all the models do come with the active trajectory as well as rear parking sensors, which is a nice touch. But if you went for the Limited, you would have a 360-degree camera system instead, as well as front parking sensors. And then the mirrors do tilt down in reverse to help you see the parking lines better. And then finally, off to the side of the shifter, you do have an automatic brake hold function. Now you also notice several more buttons over here on the console. So we'll start out here with this large controller here for your different drive modes. As you can see, we've got 5 different drive modes, plus a locking center differential. So we'll try these out a little later in the test drive, but as you can see, you do have plenty of different choices. And then over here you can turn on and off your parking sensors, you have your hill descent control, and then you can also turn on and off the auto start stop system. And then right below that, we have our seat controls. Now Hyundai has nicely included 3-stage heated seats on all but the very base model. And then like I already mentioned, as far as this heated steering wheel, that is part of the premium package. And you would also be able to get 3-stage ventilation if you go for the Limited trim. Now, as far as the climate control themselves, you do have a manual setup on the SE only, but when you go for the SEL or up, you're going to get a 3-zone automatic climate control setup. That, of course, is what this is. So you just adjust the temperature with these little knobs right here and here. You've got all your buttons located physically, so you can adjust the zones right here, as well as your fan speeds, and you don't have to do anything up in the actual display. However, you can adjust the rear climate by clicking the rear button, and when you do that, it will pop up right up here, and you'll just make adjustments just like that. Or, of course, you can allow the rear occupants to do that themselves with their own climate controls, or you can click this button here, which locks them out from making their own adjustments and only allows you up here in the front to do that. Now, of course, we do have a nice row of a bunch of physical controls related to the infotainment system as well as the audio, which makes things nice and easy. And then as far as the audio systems themselves, Now, I don't actually know what the base audio system is. I could not find the information. However, the Limited does have a 630 watt 12 speaker Infinity audio system. But let's go ahead and take a sample of that base audio system. Like I said, I don't know the actual specs of the system, but I have to say I'm really impressed by the sound quality of it, especially for such a big cabin. Nevertheless, that now brings us up here to our Hyundai Blue Link system. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. Now we're on a bit of a time crunch today, so I'm just going to run through a few of these features. It is the same system that you've seen in all the other Hyundai models, even though the display, of course, looks a little bit different. So this is your home screen. You can just click into different things to get to shortcut buttons, or you can click the all menus, and this will allow you to see every different type of function the system has. Now, the most important things you're probably looking for are Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and I am happy to report they are standard across the board, even on the base trim, so you don't have to feel like you need to pay extra for the integrated navigation system. Now, if you do want integrated navigation, that is an available option on this SEL. When you upgrade for that, it will also upgrade the display to the 10.25 inch display, and it is standard on the Limited. Of course, we do not have that. As far as other functions, you do still have your phone, your Bluetooth audio, and lots of different settings. We go through this really in-depthly in a dedicated Blue Link Tech Help video. A link to that is in the video description. Heading on up here, we do have an auto-dimming mirror with 3 built-in HomeLink universal remotes. That is, of course, optional on the SEL and standard on the Limited. We do also have a little bit of a rear mirror here, so you can keep an eye on the people in the back. Now, as far as your moonroof options, this is pretty similar to the Gauges. There are actually 3 different configurations. So, of course, you do start out without having one on the SE and the SEL. However, we have optioned it on as a standalone option. This is a traditional sized moonroof. However, you can also get a panoramic one that comes standard on the Limited only, though. Of course, this does operate the same way as you expect all moonroofs to. You have a pretty big opening, and you have a nice wind buffer. But overall, I really can't say enough positive things about this cabin. Hyundai here has really brought their A game, and that's what you need to do when you're entering into a new segment. You got to enter into it with a splash, and they certainly have here. Of course, just as important as the front areas is the back areas and the cargo space. So I'll go ahead and hand it off to my brother Mason, who will finish up with that.
Alrighty, so coming around to the rear seats of the all-new 2020 Hyundai Palisade, you are going to find a really large amount of space, actually a lot larger than some of the rivals. You'll find 42.4 inches of rear legroom and 40.1 inches of rear headroom, which, like I mentioned, is above main competitors like the Toyota Highlander and Honda Pilot. Now, turning over here to the door trim, it is super nicely appointed, so we do have a nice leather wrapped armrest going all the way through here with stitching going through it, as well as a nice leather area above that, and a padded plastic even on the top. Now, in addition to that, we do also have these window rear sunshades, and your window itself is power. Now, down below that, you will find some bottle storage, And turning over to the seat itself, you will notice that this model has the captain's chairs. They are standard on the SEL and Limited trims. However, the SEL can opt in for a bench seat if you want that. The Limited cannot get a bench seat. Now here in the center area, this Palisade is super nicely equipped. So you do have your own climate controls, which are standard across the board. However, they are only automatic on the SEL and Limited trims. But you can just adjust your temperature right here, as well as your zones and fan speeds. And you will also notice that this particular model has 3-stage heated rear seats, which are optional on the SEL and standard on the Limited. Now I do also want to mention that on the Limited trim, you do also get ventilated seats as well. Which is a very rare feature. Only one other car in the class, and that's the Telluride, has that feature. Now down below that, you will find a 12-volt power outlet, as well as a 115-volt household style outlet. And like I mentioned before, we do have the captain's chairs, so we do have these adjustable armrests. And up top, you will find some LED lighting, as well as a nice headliner, your vent, an assist grip, and a coat hook. Now, like I mentioned, this is one of the largest offerings in the class, and behind Drew's sitting position, I have plenty of space. I probably have about 6 inches of rear leg room, and my feet can easily slide up under the seat. Now, to get in the third row, Hyundai has made it really easy, so all you have to do is locate this little button and push it. Now checking out the third row itself, you will find 31.4 inches of rear leg room and 38 inches of rear headroom, which does place it above some of the main rivals. So let's go ahead and get back there and see what it's like for an adult. So first, sitting back here, my first impression is really good because I do have about 1 inch or 2 of space, and that is with this seat scooted all the way back. That's very impressive for the class. And my feet can also slide up under the seat, which is really nice. And I'm also getting quite a bit more thigh support than I do in a lot of the competitors. We were just in the all-new Explorer, and this is definitely better. And off to the side, we do have some features. So we do have 2 cup holders on both sides, as well as a unique feature of a power reclining third row. So I can just push this, and it will recline the seat back. Actually, quite a good distance. That's a really nice feature to have. And off to the side, we do have smart charging USB ports on this model. They are optional on the SEL and standard on the Limited. Now up top, we do have some more vents, as well as some lights. And to fold the seat back into place, just push it, and it will go right back. Now coming around to the tailgate of the Palisade, it is hands-free power on the Limited trim or optional on the SEL. Now all you have to do is wait back here for about 3 seconds and then it will open up. And once inside the Palisade's trunk area, you are going to be very pleasantly surprised with the amount of space you're going to get. So you will find 18 cubic feet of space behind the third row seats, and if you fold them, it's going to expand to 46 cubic feet, and if you fold all of the seats, you're going to find 86 cubic feet. Now, like I mentioned, that's a pleasant surprise because that is larger than a lot of the main rivals like the Toyota Highlander and Honda Pilot. Now, as far as how Hyundai finishes it back here, you do have a really nice finishing, so you do have a carpeted floorboard, and up underneath of the floor, you have a storage spot for your cargo cover, as well as a little bit more storage areas. And off to the side, you are going to notice a 12-volt power outlet, as well as this SEL has the optional power third row. This is standard on the Limited trim or optional on the SEL, and all you have to do to fold the seats is just push these buttons real fast. And as you can see, the headrests do fold automatically. And you can also fold the second row from here as well. And if the seat were scooted further back, they would fold flat. So as you can see, there is tons of storage space back here. Heading over to the passenger seat, it is 8-way power, which is optional on the SEL or standard on the Limited. And in front of the passenger, you do have nice materials, as well as a good-sized glove box. It's dampened. And I also really kind of like this metal trim around the handle here. Now, in addition to that, we do have a sun visor with an LED light and mirror. It does also detach and extend. But anyway, guys, that sums up all of the practical stuff about this all-new Palisade. So now let's go ahead and get on the road and see how it performs there.
Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain. Now, Hyundai keeps things pretty simple relative to some of the competition. You have one engine and transmission combination standard across the entire lineup. So what you're looking at is a 3.8 liter V6 engine producing 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Those are definitely class competitive numbers. That is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Across the entire lineup, even the base model, you've got standard front-wheel drive and optional all-wheel drive as a $1,700 option. And then as far as your fuel economy, that does generate two different combinations. So you're looking at 19 city, 26 highway, 22 combined with front-wheel drive, and that drops to 21 combined if you go with all-wheel drive. That's pretty much your specifications real quick, but of course what matters more is what it's like out on the road. So that was our auto start-stop system right there. Definitely engages very, very smoothly.
Another thing I want to mention about that auto start-stop system is that it did engage, and it engaged for a while, and it's actually very, very hot today. We have the air conditioning on low, so a lot of cars actually will not even turn the auto start-stop system on at all. And it's not like it got hot in here or anything, so I think they did a really good job with that and utilizing the system even if, you know, it's hot outside.
That's right. So first taking off in the Palisade, initial acceleration is definitely very nice and strong. Plenty of power. The numbers themselves are right in line with pretty much what the competition gives you. And with the 8-speed automatic transmission, it definitely gets moving very well for the class. As far as just rolling down the road here, we just hit a little bumpy patch of road. I just want to say it is exceptionally smooth riding. You could see the big bumps, but this didn't feel hardly anything at all.
Yeah, I definitely second that. Wow. You know, riding along here, I was just trying to kind of soak it in and see how I was going to like it. And, you know, I mean, there's like the manholes in the road and stuff. And you really cannot even feel it, and it handles it so well. Like, if I were to close my eyes, I would believe that we're in a luxury SUV, honestly.
Now, of course, we're kind of on a country road here. And the steering is really surprisingly good. Hyundai has really, I've mentioned it in some of the past Hyundai reviews, they have really doubled down on making their steering a lot better since they had taken flack for it in the past. And this is really an excellent steering setup, especially for a vehicle like this. It's light enough to be comfortable and be the way that you expect it to be in the class, but it's got a really natural feel to it, and it responds really instantly. It responds instantly. It just gives you kind of a better sense of the road than what most of the competition has. It's just a kind of a linear and progressive feel.
That gives you some confidence driving on something like this.
That's right, and that's sorely missed in a lot of the competitors because they're so large, and when you don't have steering that's set up like this, it just makes things feel even bigger. Yeah, I just want to re-emphasize just how balanced everything feels. I'm really impressed back here on this country road. I can't think of anything else in the class that drives with this much precision despite being so large. You know, like Mason said, I believe it just kind of makes you feel a lot more comfortable in maneuvering it on a road like this, whereas, you know, I would say this typical for the class. This would be kind of an uncomfortable endeavor to kind of take something so big on a narrow road.
Yeah, I don't really even feel that much body roll in something, and with these specs being this big, it's very impressive.
But in regards to the transmission, I'm really impressed by this as well. It operates extremely transparently. It's just doing its thing in the background. You really don't feel the shifts. You don't hear the shifts. It is a very quiet vehicle.
But yet it's not afraid to drop a gear to get up a hill or anything. I have noticed that, you know, if you're going up a hill and need a little bit of additional power, it's not afraid to drop a gear. You just really can't feel it. I mean, you might be able to see it in the gauges, but you're not going to feel it.
In case you're wondering maybe how this drives compared to the Telluride, I would say pretty similarly. We didn't have a great deal of time to drive the Telluride back when we reviewed it a few months ago, but based on what I remember about it, they seem to drive pretty similarly. So I just put it into the sport mode, and we'll see if that makes much of a difference. Definitely tunes the throttle response to be more sensitive for sure. The steering seems to be a little bit more aggressive in the turns. But yeah, the acceleration, really impressive.
And another thing I'm really impressed by with this engine in particular is just how smooth it is. Because even when you push down hard, it's still very quiet and very refined sounding. It's a very just smooth engine.
But all in all, impressed doesn't even really cover how I feel about this vehicle, as an overall package. It really In my opinion, this is one of the best driving crossovers in the segment. You know, just if we're talking about just the driving dynamics, and then of course there's all the other factors which we've discussed, chiefly among them being the features and the value of this vehicle is crazy. But yeah, I have to say I'm almost surprised by just how well this drives, because it mixes seamlessly both kind of being sporty and also being a really luxury, smooth riding, family type of vehicle. You know, there's really nothing about this package that should turn you off. I definitely suggest checking out the Palisade in person if you're shopping in this segment.
Now let's go ahead and discuss one of the most attractive things about the all-new Hyundai Palisade, and that's its very affordable price tag, especially compared to a lot of the competition. So for the very base model, which is the SE trim, that's going to start at $31,550, and that is with front-wheel drive. Now if you want to go one rung up to what we have here, this is the SEL trim, and that's going to start only $2,000 more expensive at $33,550. Now if you want to go for the fully loaded limited trim with all of the luxury amenities and all of that, that's going to be an $11,000 price increase to $44,700 as a starting. Now like I mentioned, if you want all-wheel drive, that is a $1,700 option across all of those trims. Now this particular Palisade is highly optioned, so the SEL trim can actually get quite a few options to make it kind of very similar to the limited and equipment without a few of their features. So we have quite a few of those options. So we have the convenience package for $2,200, as well as the premium package for $2,400. We also have the optional sunroof for $900, carpeted floor mats for $160, a cargo net for $50, a cargo cover for $190, as well as a rear bumper protector for $70. And finally, when you add in the $1,045 destination charge, this particular model as equipped comes in at $42,215, which I imagine will actually be a very popular configuration for this Palisade, because a lot of the competition fully loaded is going to run you about $50,000, and the limited is going to be even more expensive than that, but it's still a lot less than a lot of the rivals. Like we were just in an Explorer last week that, you know, tops out around 60 grand, and this has 95% of the features that that car had, and this is 42,000. So definitely a very attractive price point here with the all-new Palisade.
Well guys, hope you enjoyed watching one of the first in-depth looks at the 2020 Hyundai Palisade SEL. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.